Another day had dawned, and I was in a new location. I could hear distant roaring and stomping sounds, so I was eager to see what was lurking over the hill. I had managed to scavenge a Rex corpse earlier, so I wasn't so much hungry at the time as I was just curious to have a look around. For a fleeting moment, I wanted to test my luck with this trike, but the sounds of a large carnivore apex nearby made me rethink that decision. It was a good thing, too. I most likely saved myself from being picked off all weekend if I had won the fight against the trike. The plains were very alive that day, full of players who were just like me. I saw the warning signs of looming threats, and I wasn't about to risk losing this life just yet. I decided that maybe the Great Plains were just a little too hot for me right now as a solo. I'd just have to return here later on to see what I could find. Time marched on, and eventually, as it always does, my hunger returned. I wanted to test my luck on this fully grown Anno. I didn't realize at the time, but this fight would take a while. A long while. And solid damage was exchanged from both sides. Now, once I got down to just around half health, I backed off to breathe for a minute and weigh my options. I decided this fight just wasn't really worth it, despite the fact that I could have really used the meal at the time. I would just have to try again elsewhere. And so I continued. I managed to kill little critters here and there, but I was getting kind of worried about starvation. Despite that, in this life with my Tyrannotitan, I vowed to not hunt young dinosaurs, especially juveniles, unless I absolutely had to. And I knew that this little Argent was far from fully grown, so I tried to keep myself as non-threatening as I could. By now, I had wandered back into the Grand Plains. Desperation slowly started to creep in. I knew I would have to do something drastic soon if I didn't come across something I could hunt. A family of oversized ducks seemed promising, with what looked to be maybe 2 subadults and 1 fully grown option. I wasn't sure if one of the subadults were actually fully grown, and I wasn't really given a chance to inspect them too well. I wasn't even that thirsty, but I wanted to see just how aggressive these players potentially were. They were incredibly strong and decently coordinated. 3v1 wasn't the best option for me, but I knew that if I dragged them away from the water, that I would at least have a chance. Once I realized they only wanted to camp the river, and they could already see what I was trying to do, I started to second-guess myself, and I retreated to lick my wounds. Better safe than sorry, right? I wasn't about to give up. When I saw that mother and child, a Patasaurus, I think, I knew what I had to do. Admittedly, I had initially planned to go after the younger one and separate it from its mother, but first, I had to track them down. They were well aware of my presence, and they wanted absolutely nothing to do with me. Can't blame them. They had rounded the mountain ridge in an effort to skirt around me, so I snuck towards the only exit path that I had known of. I had assumed they were headed towards Savannah, and luckily, my intuition was right. What I didn't factor in was that because I had them bottlenecked, the child was out of my reach, with the mother doing very well to defend her baby. I was torn between going all in and risking death, or playing it safe to try and fight another day. This was my very first time fighting anything like this, so I had no idea what to expect. Ultimately, I decided to play on the safer side. There was no way I was going to get that baby, and even though I could see the mother was bleeding, and I was managing to get in some pretty solid hits, granted they were giving me really solid hits in return, I was growing more and more nervous by the minute. These giants are formidable and tanky, which proved to be too much for me. I was hungry and weak, so once more, at around half-ish health, I decided to step away, defeated. Again. I was officially on the brink of starvation. I couldn't even sit and wait around to let myself heal, so I went on my way. It was at this point that I was starting to lose hope. Was I nearing the end? I had been getting clobbered and scarred up with multiple lost fights now. All I could do was desperately hunt whatever critter I could find. That was until I heard more stomping. This was my last chance. That critter bought me a few precious minutes before I was truly starving once again. I didn't care what the creature was that stood before me. All I knew was that either I was going to die, or they were. When I realized that this was another Anno, I instantly remembered my first fight with them, and my hopelessness got worse. I had a bad feeling that I would get clobbered all over again, just like last time. Now this fight raged on for a long while, even longer than the first time. We had traded blows, but this time I found a sort of rhythm with their attacks, and I retaliated accordingly. I had learned, and I had grown from the last time. You'll notice I sped up the footage to 400 times its normal speed, just to give you an idea of how long this battle took. That Anno shattered my bones, and I slowly tore through their defenses. Then, finally. I made a promise to myself after I nearly starved to death. I would never let myself get that desperate, ever again. I was a Tyrannotitan, and it was time I threw my weight around a little bit. By the time I got to these rolling green hills, I was feeling the all too familiar gnawing of hunger again. I had managed to hear this Iggy long before I saw them, but they were perfect. There was no hiding this time. There wasn't some massive build-up to the confrontation. No stalking through the bushes or setting up some grand ambush along the tree line. There wasn't even much of a fight. I simply saw food, and I went for it. I savored the meal and respected the loss that the player endured. I was ready for the next step in my journey.